I'm doing applied food sanitation.
I think it's food too, and meat and seafood. I think is what I'm taking next semester. Are you taking food too?
Yeah, I think somebody else joined.
Yes.
Hey, Chef.
Hello.
Hi.
So what are y'all taking next semester?
I got you next semester food too online, and I think meat and seafood. I think that's what I have. They're both online.
Yeah.
You will probably have me for meat and seafood online.
I thought I had you for food too.
You will have me for food too online.
You will have him a lot.
Yeah, so as of today, this is still very fluid.
Okay.
The university, CAMI is hiring 2 new culinary instructors.
Okay.
And so there will still be some, shuffling around.
Yeah.
I'm for certain teaching at the very, very least one of the in-person sections of Food 1 and the one online Food 1. That's part of my doctoral research.
Okay.
I am for sure teaching the one online Food 2. And more than likely, Chef Jamie McAfee will teach the in-person Food 2, the Monday morning Food 2.
Yes.
Jill, do you have that?
I signed up for it right now, the 7:30 time.
Yep. You'll either get an email, so watch your emails, like the week before school starts, or you'll show up at 7:30 on the very first day, and Chef McAfee's going to say, hey, let's start class at 8, or let's start class at 8:30. And everybody's going to say, yay, you're our favorite now. Yeah.
Just for me, I mean, I'm driving a little bit from kind of the Hot Springs area. So the drive and the traffic, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to be a little bit early, but it is what it is.
Jamie drives from Pine Bluff.
I know. So I'm like, he's probably, to him, it's like, oh, I mean, how bad do you want it, right? So,
right.
I don't think I'd be complaining to him about it.
And saying you're doing the online Food too.
And the online, I want to say meat and seafood or sauce and soup or something. I'm taking.
It would be meat and seafood. We haven't released yet online stock soups and sauces. That still probably won't happen till the spring. And I am building, haven't started yet. Throughout the fall semester, I'll be building an online garde manger. And
because this COVID stuff is just really, it's out of control.
Again, yes.
Again.
Did y'all see the news?
A friend just got diagnosed.
Yeah. Everybody that's in there has not been vaccinated. Everybody that's in the hospital.
Just over the weekend, I guess today's update, according to KARK, 2,552 cases in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Back to where this was, March of last year.
Hey, Chef.
I'll be right back, y'all.
Hey, yeah, Jennifer, go ahead.
Question. So I'm in for the fall, Food 3 and Intro to Hospitality, which is already online, but meat and seafood. So my question is, if we go virtual again, will they like combine forces to do like your meat and seafood online class, or will it be kind of like previous semesters where that same instructor just kind of had to shuffle and change things?
The same instructor will kind of have to shuffle and change things.
Okay.
There won't be all of a sudden, there won't be staffing changes right at the last minute if the whole school were to have to go virtual. Now, and I know this is recorded, but I'm going to jump off the cliff of my real knowledge and basically just, I guess, tell you what I think. So this is just opinion. I do not see UAPTC returning to mandated virtual programming.
Yeah.
Don't see that ever happening again, because our senior administration at this university takes its cues from the larger University of Arkansas system, which takes its cues from the governor.
Right.
Now, just a little teeny bit of gubernatorial politics and some areas in which Governor Asa Hutchinson has his hands tied. His emergency powers for COVID-19, even though one could argue legally that this is a whole new situation.
Okay.
The majority argue from a legal sense that whatever's going on as far as the governor's emergency powers still falls under the original COVID-19 outbreak. This is still part of the same outbreak. It's just the virus has morphed, but it's still the same virus. What I'm getting at is the governor no longer has the legal authority to close the state. UAPTC is a state agency. Dr. Ellaby, while she certainly can, the board can, but like any other public university, UAPTC takes its cues from the governor's office. What the governor says, that will be the decisions that the school makes.
Okay.
And the governor doesn't have the authority. Now he has to go to the state legislature, and the legislature has to enact a new law. Right now, the legislature is not in session. A special session could be called at any time. But
Okay.
I know there's a little bit of legal mumbo jumbo, blah, 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 that, you count on when you logged in the class today. But just so that you're aware, the school may say masks are required. The state of Illinois, different legislature, different constitution, different league, some different laws than the state of Arkansas. But I'm a doctoral student from the University of Illinois, and just this past week, University of Illinois is a very, very large school. The Urbana-Champaign campus is over 25,000 students in person on campus. And your vaccination card has to be submitted, or a copy has to be submitted to the registrar's office for anyone that's on campus, whether you live on campus or you study in person in class. If you're an online person, then it doesn't
matter.
If you're vaccinated, your vaccine card has to be part of your student record, part of your student file. And that goes into the registrar's office and it goes into your file. If you're not vaccinated, masks are required, and you have to test. They purchase the quick response test. As a student, you have to test every other day.
Oh, no.
Until the crisis is over. 25,000 students. You're going to go to class. I see it a little bit like the athletes at the Olympic Village.
Yeah.
You're in your apartment. You come out, you go to train, or you.
Right. Like they did the bubble the last time for the basketball. They had that bubble. Yeah.
Faculty and staff at University of Illinois, you're vaccinated, that has to be recorded with HR, the Human Resources Office. And if you're not vaccinated, masks, social distancing, and you have to test twice a week. Faculty, staff, and graduate students. So I'm glad I'm here, and I feel like a dog every time I say I got my shots. If you need to see my papers, I have my shots. I've done my. I'm not gonna say anything to try to sway anybody. Get your shots. Don't get your shots. That's one of those things. To me, it's almost like politics or religion. It's very, very personal. It's personal to you.
Right.
And I have my misgivings about things, and I'm glad we live in a country where you get to have your misgivings about things. And if our misgivings aren't the same thing, you know what? That's what makes a great country. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And so,
amen to that.
Yeah. So let's talk just a little bit, since we're now 12 minutes in and we haven't done anything yet. What did y'all think about? I read all your comments. Some very interesting. What was it? So I don't usually call out names and talk about students and in a public setting, what you've written or the work that you do or anything like that. But I have to say, of all the semesters I've done this exercise, I think I got the biggest kick out of, I think it was Jill. I think it was, were you the one, and I may get this wrong, but were you the one that said that camembert tasted like Comet? So
yeah, and it smelled like, there were several of them that I was like, this smells like dirty mop water.
Yes.
And that one I think was specifically like Comet, and some of them smelled like vomit to me. Like, yeah. Yes.
I loved it. I'm gonna probably print that off and frame it and leave it in my office, because I think that's the best. I talked about this very briefly last week. I want to dig into it maybe just a little bit more, and it's the only thing I have planned for this evening. So if you have other questions, we're coming to the end of the semester, and so we can talk about some finishing up class kind of housekeeping sorts of things. We can talk about your presentation. That's coming up in a week and some change. But here's the big deal. Here's the context about last week, I mean, and the tasting cheese really is twofold. One of those is one of your required competencies, one of the required learning objectives for an accredited culinary school, accredited by the American Culinary Federation. And that is important because when you graduate, you'll graduate assuming, Jennifer, I know you're a dual major, so this may morph a little bit for you, because you're doing, Jennifer, aren't you doing kind of the newest
Yes.
degree that has the kind of the TC in baking and pastry, certificate in culinary arts, and at the end of the day, they will be an associate degree in what?
Yes. I think it's going to be called, I think it's still under the umbrella of baking.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't let her rename it to culinary or, culinary and pastry.
That's right. And that was the American Culinary Federation. It was.
Oh, was it? I thought it was the school.
Competencies for degree. So at any rate, it's important that you understand the degrees that you're getting are accredited by the American Culinary Federation. Who is this American Culinary Federation? There are many different clubs and there are many different organizations that give you letters and offer you certificates and this and that and the other. For our world in culinary, baking and pastry arts, the American Culinary Federation is the only organization in the United States accredited, chartered by the United States Department of Labor. And so the degree you get will also come with a certificate as a culinarian. Those of you with majors in culinary arts, to complete everything, you'll get an Associate of Applied Science in Culinary Arts and the CC. I have, among other things, I have CEC next to my name or under my name on my chef coat. With the American Culinary Federation, I'm a certified executive chef. My CMC is with the World Association of Chef Societies. It's a global certificate of which the ACF is a member. The importance of the ACF being chartered by the United States Department of Labor may not be as recognizable in the state of Arkansas, but if you were to ever move away to one of these food mecca states, especially in the Northeast, where even in our industry, we're unionized, when you graduate with the CC, Certified Culinarian, that is recognized by every state's Department of Occupational Licensure, like a CPA, like an RN. Not so much in Arkansas, but in those unionized states, it is a license. Where in Arkansas, it is a certificate. Does that make sense?
Okay.
For us to do everything we can do as a college to maintain that accreditation is important. And the ACF has a very broad, long list of required competencies that you each need to study and learn about and cover all throughout your associate degree. These are all relative to 2-year degrees. And you won't do every competency in each class. You're not going to do much with knife skills. No one's going to evaluate your brunoise or your frying brunoise. Certainly nobody's going to evaluate them as close as I do, but you're not going to have to do that in garde manger. You're not going to have to test for that in stock soups and sauces. Does that make sense? That competency is covered in Food Production 1. There are 2 times, according to these competencies, 2 times that we address cheese and hold a cheese tasting. Food Production 1 and in garde manger. And we both, because the subject matter is a little bit different, we approach the subject a little bit different. You will taste many of the same cheeses when you take garde manger, but your approach is going to be kind of multifaceted. You're going to taste the cheeses and you'll come back another time and you're going to have to taste the cheeses again and try to identify what those cheeses are. I use this as covering the required competency to taste cheese, but also I think it's important that we talk about the dynamics of taste, kind of the physiology of taste and what's going on when we taste. Go ahead, Jennifer. You got a question.
I know. So one of my questions was from that experience. We are big cheese eaters, charcuterie boards, all of that, and so
I commented to you. I did. I think, hey, that's a great date night.
Yeah.
You got such a little bitty taste of cheese. I don't know if you and your husband was able to cover them all, but I'm sorry.
No, we did. A couple times I was like, sorry, the rest of that's mine. And same for him. But, in our other class, we're doing the Yes Chef series. And so here's my question, because I really have been thinking about taste memory, and I'm really puzzled by this. So, because that's my whole goal. Like you have said before, I want to go in a restaurant and I want to leave. And I want, if I love the risotto, I want to be able to come home and figure out how to make it. Right. So I was thinking about this with the cheese, just even today thinking, okay, which can I remember? What taste, what are the things that I'm, if it's nutty or sharp or, bold. Anyway, can you talk more about kind of our experience with the cheese and how we might start, I guess, fine-tuning the ability to have a memory associated with taste?
So let's cover that last part of your first.
Okay.
Because we did kind of gloss over last week a little bit of basic kind of physiology of what's going on when we eat, but we'll cover that again. Taste memory. I personally will boil this down very. I'm a simpleton. I'm really not. I'm a deep, complex thinker, but I don't analyze things too much very well unless I'm really, really passionate. But let's take away the word taste. How do you develop your memory? Think of anything. Think of, okay, first thing. Think of one thing that each of you think of one thing that you personally experienced. You don't have to share if you don't want to. Think of one thing that you experienced one time. What would be best if you experienced something in brief? You experienced something in a little 15-minute episode or a 30-minute little episode one time in your life as a teenager that has lasted, that stuck. Can you think of something kind of quick that fits that?
I can. I hate liver. I hate the taste of it. Even me saying it, I could remember it's crumbly and it's I hate it. I can't stand that texture. I don't even, when my mama used to make it, I didn't even want the gravy covering my rice. And I still had it, and I won't eat it.
Crumbly, that's interesting. I call it chalky.
Yeah.
You're chewing up liver and it kind of,
yes,
some of the residue it leaves in your mouth. And
yeah.
So I wasn't even referring to a taste experience, just anything. You climbed up this rope to swing out over the creek and your bikini top fell off and that's something that sticks. It was a quick thing and it's stuck. It burned in your memory forever. Okay. San had liver. I'm not going to, now that I said that one thing, I'm not going to ask anybody else to share any other experience, but can you relate? Give me a thumbs up or a yes. Yes. I can relate to one isolated experience that was so memorable. I'll share one of mine. I was in the 4th grade and I lived in Searcy, and not every Saturday, but at least twice a month on a Saturday, we would load up the car as a family and we would go to McCain Mall. Back in the heydays of indoor malls. And my mom and sister and little brother would shop. My older brother and my dad, we would hit Dunderbox, the soft pretzels with the cheese, and I'd thump all the pickles off, but the meat and the cheese and the big soft German pickle. And we would go to Aladdin's Castle and blow all of the weeks or the month's allowance on video games, because I grew up in the video arcade era, and we had Atari at home, but you really had to go to the place with the big machine, and you had to play Pac-Man in the arcade at the Pac-Man machine. That's where I grew up. But we had to have our chores done. I grew up under parents that, taught us kids the value of work, and we had chores. And every week our chores moved around and, clean the living room, clean the bathroom, clean the kitchen. My little brother was too little to kind of share in those chores. And our responsibilities, whatever room we got, was consistent with our age. And this particular week we had I had the living room, and those chores all had to be done. I had a list of things. Magazines had to be organized every day. Coffee table had to be cleaned off every day, had to dust once a week, had to vacuum at least one time in the week. Well, I don't like to vacuum. And I like big words. And I had just learned a new word in my 4th grade, negotiate. And my mom asked, okay, kids, we ready to go? Breakfast is all cleaned up. Has everybody got their chores done? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I just chimed right in. Yes, ma'am. I got my chores done. And then she looked at me, and my mama, you know, we called it the evil eye. That eyebrow would cock up, and, you know, all y'all know. So Jennifer, you got kids, several. Sand, we've talked about that before. Jill, you're a mommy. Are you a mommy? You got 2? So all y'all know this, especially I don't understand it. I'm a daddy, but mommies just, you know, can read the kids, and you know if they're lying, even when they're, you know, they're trying to get one over you, and you know it. And my mama knew it, and that evil eye comes out, and she said, "Did you vacuum the floor?"
Huh?
Hey, Sand, mute just a little bit while you're.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's okay. So, my mom asked, "Did you vacuum the living room?" And I said, "Let's negotiate." And my dad stopped what he was doing, and he turned, my father, 3rd generation Marine father. I'm ready to negotiate. Now, this is how I learned negotiating. Any of y'all that have done anything in business may appreciate this. My mama said, okay, let's negotiate. And I said, it's your living room. It's your floor. It's your vacuum. You want it done. I don't want to do it. So I think you should vacuum the living room floor before we go to McCain Mall. My daddy didn't like that. He thought that was being very disrespectful to my mother. And so I've been slapped by my dad one time, and that was it. And when I tell that story, I can feel his hand and the sting on my face. I'm 51 years old. And however old you are when you're in the 4th grade, you're, I don't know, 10, 9 years old, something like that. That has lasted for a long, long time. He spanked me once too. That was with a very soft leather belt. Taste memory, number 1. Is going to come first from those things that are the most negative experience to you. Like anything else in life, something that is painful, something that is a really big scare or a sudden surprise. So Sand, unlike Liver, had it that one time. And I bet she can, talking about Liver, can remember the taste of that liver. Jill wrote down on a piece of paper so specific that Camembert tastes like Comet. Y'all know what Comet is. It's that powder you use to clean out your toilet bowl. I don't know, Camembert and toilet bowl soap. That's a memory of a taste that is going to stick with you and stick with you. Right? Now, Jennifer, you're not asking about negative experiences to create taste memory, are you? So let me ask this question. I would imagine all 3 of you are college students. You can, and I've seen some of your kitchen math. Y'all know your times tables. You know how to do multiplication without going to the calculator or open up your phone. How did you learn your 1s and your 2s and your 3s and your 4s? How did you learn your multiplication tables?
Repetition.
If I tell you right now, American cheese, to stick with the cheese concept, How many of you, without going to your refrigerator and getting out the Kraft singles or whatever, how many of you right now, you think about it just a minute, yeah, I know what American cheese tastes like. We've all used those Kraft singles or the store brand singles to make grilled cheese sandwich. We've all used processed cheese to make macaroni and cheese from scratch. Here's what I'm getting at. The other way to create memory is repetition. Now, here's the bum deal. When it comes to cheese, for example, you tasted not even a drop in the bucket of the variety of cheeses that are on the planet. It is impossible. It's impossible for you to taste everything in a lifetime. It's impossible. So, what do you do? What do you do to develop the memory? To make it easier, I can taste a lot of things, and the memory of that taste one time will linger for a long, long time because I have tested it, and out of repetition, I have refined my palate. You won't do it in the cheese tasting that we had last week. You just won't. Little piece, an ounce or a half an ounce or a quarter ounce or a teaspoon size or a half a teaspoon size. Okay, that's an introduction. The only way you're going to learn to remember the taste of Manchego is to go to Whole Foods, go to a Kroger marketplace and get you a little hunk of Manchego and eat it. Now, don't get you 8 or 16 ounces and don't eat it all in one setting. My only fear when we do this cheese tasting is we eat so much cheese that, you know, milk does the body good. Cheese doesn't always agree with everybody. And so there's an issue there with that. The more you refine your palate, and you refine your palate by eating, by tasting, by asking. You're in a restaurant, you taste the thing. It is not out of the question to ask the server, hey, I'm a culinary student. Could you ask the chef for a recipe? Could I talk to the chef? Could you ask the chef to come out here and ask what's in here? There was something unusual. There was something I haven't tasted before. What did you put in here? And you'll start to pick up on these unusual things. And the more little nuance flavors come out when you put a morsel of anything in your mouth, that's an indicator that your palate is refining and you are developing the ability to, in 1 or 2 bites, pick apart a tomato sauce. Are you going to get it 100%? I don't know anybody on the planet that can get it exactly 100%. Now, let me add this. Jennifer, when you posed this question, you asked it in a certain way, and I don't want to burst your bubble. Right now, it makes total sense to me. You want to go out to eat. You want to taste something that is marvelous and wonderful and delicious, and then you want to go home and replicate it in pretty short order. 6 months from now, 2 years from now, I would say for most of you, probably in the next 2 to 5 years, you will reach a point where you are no longer interested in replicating someone else's work, but you need those taste memories so that you can consider the taste of this and the taste of that and the taste of this. And will that go together? And you close your eyes and you can smell it without it being there. You can taste it in your mind without it being on your tongue. And then you want to replicate that in your kitchen. Does that make sense? That's when you have become the innovator.
Yes, that is my whole goal.
That starts from you eat enough manchego that where all of a sudden the smell of it is all you need. Now you know the taste of it. You eat enough basil that and some of these things may be basic. You know, can you taste the difference between a Roma tomato and a beefsteak tomato? If you can, you are already somewhere on that continuum of taste something that tastes really good. And I have a memory of all of those flavors, good and bad. Think of just last week. Can you remember your favorite taste from the cheeses you had last week? Sam, what was your favorite taste?
Gouda.
Gouda.
Yep. Same.
Okay, do y'all know in Dutch, the G is, it's called a glottal sound. And so you actually pronounce that gouda, like you're going to spit.
I saw that in the
Gouda.
notes. I thought that was so interesting.
We don't say that in Arkansas.
No.
Not in our Arkansas.
Like I have never heard it called anything but Gouda.
Yeah,
too.
If you go to Holland and you ask for their cheese, you ask for Gouda cheese, and you ask for it as, you know, can I have a little egg and a nice sour bread, sourdough toast, and a little tomato, and can I get some Gouda for breakfast? And you're gonna smile. They may chuckle a little bit, and you're an American tourist, and so, but that's not how they say it. So, Stan, Gouda was yours. Jill, what was your? We know Camembert was not it. What's your most preferred? What's your favorite?
I like goat cheese.
Goat?
I like goat cheese.
I think Jennifer, wasn't that yours as well? I think, did you mention the goat cheese is kind of was your number one?
Yes, goat cheese period is typically my favorite. And I think out of that batch, the Gouda and the goat cheese were my two favorites.
Me too, Gouda and the goat cheese.
The third one for me, not for my husband, but the third one, and I can't say it, Jeff, but it's the G-U-Y.
Gruyere.
Yes.
Gruyere.
Gruyere. Okay.
Gruyere.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the other one I thought was really good.
My
one of you, Jill, was that you? Jill, you didn't like the Gruyere at all, right?
No, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't think I did. The one that I know it was really strong, and that the best word I could think, it was the Irish cheddar. It was stout, but there's something about it that I like. But I just like, man, that's stout. Like it makes me think of the Irish and the Scot, like they're just stout people, you know. And I actually kind of like that one, even though it's really strong. Yeah, well, I don't think I like the Gruyere. Oh yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah.
Well, and let me ask this. So we tried to taste the two cheddars together and then the two Parmesans together, and it was really interesting to see the difference. But Jill, I eat white sharp cheddar almost every day. It's one of my favorites here, and I thought the white cheddar that we tasted was way too strong. But I tasted the Irish and I loved the Irish. So that surprised me. I wanted to know what you all thought.
Yeah, I don't think I was a huge, that one cheddar was okay. Like I said, I really like the Irish cheddar. So I had my daughter, she tasted a little bit with me too on some of them. It was funny how different we were. The one that I hated, she actually liked. I was like, yeah. Oh, here, you're not going to like it. And she's like, why do you want me to taste something terrible? And she tasted it and thought it was great. But one thing I did in between, I've heard this before, and my husband and I ate at a restaurant long ago, and they brought us a little thing of, not sorbet, but sherbet. So I ate sherbet in between each of the cheeses to cleanse my palate. So I could get the
Pretty
real taste, because I know if I ate cheese on top of cheese, it would kind of influence the taste. And so I did at least try to cleanse so I would get a more of the true taste of the cheese.
Good.
So I ate lots of rainbow sherbet.
So we've all said a lot of things here just now. Taste is funny. Taste is, and all three of you said this in different ways. And I think what you said in your little 2 or 3 paragraph little taste description, little taste essay, in different ways, all three of you were spot on and made very insightful observations about what taste is, but more importantly, why it's important for us to know. You three do not taste what I taste. As a restaurateur, as a chef, I believe I shoot myself in the head for my longevity as a chef, for my ability to just be in business, if I expect you to taste what I taste. So some of you observed, rightfully so, taste is 3 things. So, as you were, flavor. So flavor is what goes on your tongue. There are receptors on each taste bud for bitter, sweet, salty, and sour. Mm-hmm. There are no taste buds. There are no receptors for umami. Umami really has its place over in texture, in mouthfeel. Umami is described as savory, but it's a rich mouthfeel. There is umami in sweet goods as well. If we want to get technical and the definition of umami, it's Asian food and it comes from certain Asian mushrooms that do actually leave a unique experience in your mouth and on your palate. And I'm one of those chefs that I'd almost say that umami is a big truckload of horse hooey. It belongs more with mouthfeel, which is part of our taste experience. So we experience flavor, we experience texture, also called mouthfeel. You need to get used to using that word, the mouthfeel of a thing. That's referring to its texture. Is it rubbery? Is it crunchy? Is it soft? The soft, is it spongy? Is it supposed to be spongy? Shrimp, lobster with a spongy mouthfeel is old lobster that died before it, died like of natural causes before it ever made it into the pot. You always want to cook fresh lobster that you kill yourself. You'll learn in meat and seafood, a humane way of doing that, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about? You've had fish before. Yeah, I'm sure you've had shrimp somewhere before, and you bite in that shrimp, and maybe your first one was firm and it was right, and the next one had a little spongy character to it. That was old shrimp. That probably should have been thrown out. Okay.
Can I ask you a question, Chef?
Please.
I'm thinking this is more mouthfeel related, but can you define dense for me?
Dense is
like what that tastes like or feels like, or,
a properly cooked salmon is loose, flaky. properly cooked pasta is al dente, the tooth. It is firm when you bite into it. Just cooked beyond crunch. There's no more crunch left. Okay. That feel of firmness as you bite into it is a thing's density. Okay. And so if it's really firm, that's dense. I like raw. I do like raw. A fillet. I like black and blue. But I really, really prefer rare or medium rare, primarily because of the mouth feel. Medium well and well done are too dense for me. Does that make sense?
So dense is harder.
Dense is harder.
That's so interesting, because when I first heard that word, I thought that meant more light.
That's because when we're being rude to people, and we point to somebody over there and we say, man, that person is dense. Mm. We may be thinking there's nothing going on up there. It's really light. But really, even being rude, that person is dense means their skull is so hard, nothing gets in. You know what I mean? I hate to put it that way.
Well, no, I won't forget that, though. The hard skull heart density.
Okay. In the pastry world, a properly prepared ciabatta or ciabatta, whoever your teacher was and how they tell you to say it. I believe the proper Italian is ciabatta when there's just one C. But anyway, a properly prepared ciabatta is much, much, much more dense than a properly prepared yeast roll. Does that make sense? That ciabatta is crunchy on the outside. It's much firmer crumb. It's very, it's almost rough on the inside compared to a Pullman loaf or a yeast roll that you're gonna. So maybe you made your beef bourguignon last week. You might want a yeast roll, to sop it up with. A yeast roll needs to be a little bit light. Mm-hmm. If it's too dense, it probably didn't rise enough, first or second rising. Usually the second rising doesn't go long enough, or it was over kneaded, or there's too much sugar, or You've learned or are learning all those troubleshooting things. Density refers to, so in a bread sense, density is going to refer to how close together, how far apart and how big the holes are that the yeast leaves versus how much bread there is and how tightly the bread is packed together versus all the little holes that the yeast leaves. Does that make a little more sense?
Yes, thank you.
That's density. Yeah, dense, hard, or mouthfeel. And the third, so we've got flavor, we've got mouthfeel, we have aroma. You smell what you eat before you taste what you eat. You will learn, Jennifer will tell you, you will learn in food too. We cover a lot in food too. I would say food too is more about, so primarily food two is learning the basic cooking methods, but it's also learning very basically how to present those, because you eat with your eyes first. You eat with your nose second. I would argue you eat with your ears and your hands before the food ever makes it to your mouth. The last thing you do in this whole taste experience is actually experience the flavor of the food. That's the last of the senses that you're going to get. Now, think about this for a minute. Ponder this deep thought. How many of you, maybe a dish that you cook at home over and over again, you smell it and you can sense the flavor of it even in your mouth by just smelling it? Can you do that? Can you relate to that?
Mm-hmm.
If you can do that, that part that you have very active nerves at the top of your olfactory system. If we looked at a diagram, you know, a side diagram of someone's face, you have nostrils, your nostrils come up and they go down where your esophagus is. You swallow in the same place that you breathe. There is a point where what you smell comes in contact with the very back of your tongue. The nerves at the roof of that chamber, right where the back of your nostrils, where they go down, right at the roof of that are the most active nerves in all of your between taste and smell. Those are the most active nerves. Just like developing taste memory. Have y'all have heard of mindfulness? That's kind of a thing today, you know. Stop. Be quiet for a minute. Take the cup of coffee that you have in the morning and feel the heat of the cup. Smell the coffee before you ever taste it. And when you do, let it set for a minute. And, you know, coffee, chocolate, whiskey, whatever it is you're going to experience, you know, take in all of it, not just hurry up and get it down.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, what I'm asking you to do going forward is to apply some mindfulness every time you cook anything.
Okay.
You're gonna make a spaghetti sauce for your spaghetti. You're probably accustomed to checking it every once in a while, tasting to see if it's salty enough, if you need to add a little pinch of sugar if it's too acidic, or I need to add a little bit of salt, or do I have enough rosemary? Do I have enough thyme? Instead of doing that so quick, take a minute, listen to the pasta water boiling. Take in a little bit of the steam, take in the whole setting. What that will be doing is preparing your brain to receive the signals of the smell and the taste. And that's when you're going to start recording, and you're going to record clearer. You're going to record more better. I know that bad grammar. And it really will just be repetition and repetition and repetition that will begin to develop a taste memory. You already have a taste memory for those things that you cook all the time. You've got your standard go-to things that you serve to your family that are your favorites, that are their favorites. You have that taste memory developed with those things already. New things that you're being experienced for the first time while you're in culinary school, you know, I would start with those one or two cheeses that you thought were really good, if you thought they were amazing, or if you just thought they were really good. Well, where do I get those cheeses? You can buy anything on Amazon. You can get anything on the interwebs. But, you know, to go to Whole Foods, they've got pretty good cheesemonger and a good cheese station.
Kroger does too.
Kroger Marketplace.
Yeah, sure
in
do.
Morrilton, where I am, I go to the Kroger Marketplace in Conway.
Trader Joe's here.
Trader Joe's, never been to those, but familiar a little bit with that. Those places where you can get good cheeses, pick one or two that you experienced in class. Buy a pound, buy a half a pound, and play with the cheeses. Put those cheeses in different things. Make a Gouda mac and cheese.
I've actually used that in combination with my other cheeses when I've made macaroni and cheese homemade. I've used it before.
And other things. Branch out into some international foods. You're going to make tacos at home. I mentioned tacos because I can smell what's going on in my kitchen. I got some shredded beef tacos that are working right now. Just plain, cheap, chuck roast in the crock pot. A little Corona, a lot of lime, seasonings. And then here in about 10 minutes, I'm going to take my chef coat off and shred it all. And so listen, the next time you make tacos, make it like a pot roast. Okay, that's traditional tacos. And instead of getting that cheap bag of shredded cheddar cheese, that's what I'm using tonight anyway. Go to one of these nicer cheese counters and buy some cotija. 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 It's Mexican Parmesan cheese. And it's very crumbly. A little bit goes a long way. It's very salty, like good aged Parmesan cheese would be. You don't need a lot of salt to season the meat if you're going to use cotija, because that's going to season everything. Branch out in other stuff. You can Google what's a traditional taco. How do I make crepes? Looking at looking at the foods of other countries that are very flavorful, and those flavors on the bad side, you may be exposed to liver for the first time, and you'll remember forever for the rest of your life that terrible liver, and not even the gravy would make the taste go away. So that's bad. Don't ever do that again.
Right.
But you experience that on the positive side as well. I will always remember the very first time I ever had cotija. I don't always use it when I do south of the border food. But when I want that specific flavor, I remember it, I know it, and I know what to get to recreate that flavor. Okay. Those three things, flavor, that's our whole taste perception. Flavor, smell, feel, mouthfeel. And it's the last thing that our brain registers when we're eating. Your plate presentation has to be really attractive, artistically considered. And you'll learn that.
That's true.
If it's supposed to be crunchy food, you're going to learn, don't take your chicken right out of the fryer. It's all nice and good and ready and perfect and crunchy, and then put it in the aluminum foil pan and cover it up with aluminum foil to keep it warm so you can come back in 20 minutes and eat your fried chicken. Because that crunchy, crispy coating, that's right. It ain't going to be crispy and no, it's not going to be crispy anymore. And that mouthfeel, your aroma and your mouthfeel, I would argue, are more important than the flavor of the thing. You might love chicken, and the chicken might be flavored, might be seasoned spot on, but if you made fried chicken and the mouthfeel of the coating is way off, if it's not crispy, you just lost your customer. You lost your guest. The chicken is bad.
That's true. That's true.
And in reality, the flavor of the chicken doesn't change one bit. It's the mouthfeel of the coating. These things are important for us to know. And the more we understand these things, the more we can manipulate the ingredients to create to allow us to create for our guests the experience that we hope for them. We have to respect this universal truth. There are 4 of us on this Zoom. Not a single one of us will taste the same thing when we're tasting the same sliver of Manchego. One of my favorite cheeses. A couple of y'all said it was a little salty. I don't taste any saltiness whatsoever in the Manchego. It tastes like hard butter to me. It tastes like dense butter. I love it. But this just goes to show I taste something different than you. You can't open a restaurant and expect everybody to fall in love with your fried chicken, with your macaroni and cheese, with your grilled cheese sandwich. It may be wonderful to you. You have to get to know the people in the neighborhood. You have to get to know the flavors and and there are ways to do that. And you'll learn in restaurant industry, and we cover things like this indirectly in just about every class. And you'll learn little tips and tricks and techniques to be intuitive to what other people are enjoying. And that's how you will build the flavor profile of your restaurant. You need to be jazzed about the food that you're doing, but you want to be in business. You have to satisfy the palates of everybody else.
Chef, real quick.
Yeah.
What class do we learn about flavor profile?
So this is a little bit. This is probably the most direct. Everybody mentions it from time to time. Every time you're experiencing new flavors and new tastes. With the cheese tasting in Garde Manger, that's the other time that I'm aware of in the curriculum that you will cover this subject directly from a different angle. Restaurant industry, I know Chef Best's restaurant industry, he covers a lot, maybe a little more indirect, but he covers the same thing that I just said and stretches it out over several classes. Don't be so tied up in your own grilled cheese sandwich. You think it's the best and everybody has to eat your grilled cheese sandwich if nobody likes it. So he'll talk about things, doing tastings, having tasting tables, having little tasting parties, things, freebies for community and little events where chef specials on your menu where you're going to test things out. He covers suggestion cards and stuff like that, different ways to get feedback from customers. A lot of that is restaurant industry.
Okay, thanks.
What else you want to know? I mean,
we talk about.
We could have physiology class, and we could break down, the olfactory system and the different types of taste buds, and that will get into some anatomy and physiology that will take us. We need to add 2 more lessons to the whole semester, but we don't have time for that.
Can I ask a question about our cuts?
Yes.
So it's funny, your feedback was one of the questions that I had after doing the assignment, the handout. So as I was cutting the fine
Brunoise.
Yes, Brunoise, which, side note, the excellent line cook at the Alotian, that's his cut for celery for one of the main meals on the menu for the fine dining for the evening shift. Anyway, I noticed his cuts were like literal perfection. I could not see one cut in that bowl that was not the exact same size as every other cut. So after, I'm assuming we'll do that one again, the fine, the 1/16.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, my question is.
I do know, but I don't know.
Oh,
I haven't opened up the practical exam yet.
Okay. Well, my question is
on that here in just a second.
So you were saying don't line up so many together because then it's hard to keep them together and you get inconsistent cuts, which is what I experienced. So what do you do as an alternate method?
So as a student, you cut one sliver of bell pepper at a time. You cut one julienne of carrot at a time. You cut one sliver of celery at a time. One at a time. One at a time. And it's tedious and it's long. And it takes a lot of time to do that. You see on TV or you watch you more experienced chefs, you watch the sous chef at the restaurant you're working at, you see him do what you see on TV and we pile them up together. You'll see me do the same thing. But that knife is an addition to my arm and my hand. It's not a tool that I'm trying to manhandle. Does that make sense? It's like a Zen thing, but I am in total and complete control of the knife. The angles, every little, just that little bit of a movement makes all the difference. Okay. My comments and what I'm trying to convey to each of you is, I may have said this before, I want you to feel a little pressure from me. I don't want to make you cry. That's not what I'm after or anything like that. But if I could put it this way, I almost feel like I am doing my job to lay this culinary foundation. When you see some of my comments, you turn the computer off and you almost want to throw it across the room because the thought that goes in your head is, this guy is expecting me to be a machine. He's asking me to cut like a machine. He's telling me it all has to be perfect and everyone has to look like everyone. Well, okay, Jennifer, what did you just say about the sous chef at the Alotian? He does that.
Yes, it's perfect.
How long's he held a knife? How long done?
One time.
I feel like if I set that expectation on you here on the front end, you are more mindful and more likely to develop good habits on the front end, even if it's got to be slow and deliberate, that after practice and experience, when you've been in a kitchen as long as that sous chef has been in the kitchen, I guarantee you'll be doing the same thing. I've told other classes, and I'll, for one or two of you, if it helps to break it down to your pocketbook, if I settle for you cutting mediocre, I usually in person, I call it chopped stuff, where, you get things about the same size and they're all about the same size, but they're, not samey. Let me boil it down to you this way. You are worth about $10.50 an hour as a prep cook at Chili's. And you'll be chopping the green onion and the red and green bell pepper and the tomato that they bring on top of the Cajun chicken pasta or, the little garnish stuff. Yeah, you know what I'm getting at? Right now, it's about $10.50 an hour that prep cook gets paid at Chili's. Okay. as a prep cook, as a new hire right out of school, prep cook that can cook, that can cut like a machine, is worth about $40,000 a year at some very high-end resorts. That's a prep cook that Jordan Davis will want to keep and will promote quickly at the Capitol Hotel. And I want to see you in the $35,000, $40,000 range coming out of culinary school, not spending this time for this education and you're worth $11. Instead of $10.50, you get a 50-cent raise on the start end because you went to culinary school, so you're worth 50 cents more.
I love the feedback, Chef. Good.
That's
one of my favorite parts.
I want to be pushy, and I think y'all would be honest with me if I push too much. I don't think I am. I temper it with, trying to reinforce what you're doing well and what you're doing right as well. But if I set that, the only time that you are directly evaluated with your knife cuts, and the only time in culinary school that we are finally focusing on knife skills, is food production 1. And so I feel the need to push a little bit. And if it's inconsistent, it might be B or A- work. Just because you did it, isn't going to be an A. And I think everybody ought to be proud of where you are and your grades and all of that kind of stuff. But I pushed just a little bit. I set some high expectations and high standards. So, if we shoot for Jupiter, but we only hit the moon, academically, you're all going to do great. But if you hit the moon, every last one of you got off the ground. And in the first 10 weeks of culinary school, it's amazing. San, go ahead.
I was just gonna piggyback on what you said. Now I'm really conscious, even when I'm cooking, making sure even when I'm cutting with my knives that I have here, I'm making sure I'm using the same procedure.
That is when your knife skills, that's where your knife skills will take off like a rocket. When it starts to become, when the light bulb goes off, anytime you have a knife in your hand, regardless of if it's schoolwork or not, I'm consciously aware of I'm cutting and Chef told me to hold the knife this way. I've got to do it this way.
Yep, that's what goes through my head. It does.
Well, that's the next step. And then the day is going to come sooner than later that it's not going to go on in your head. You're not going to be thinking about it. It's going to be very subconscious. Just like, I'm going to ask this. Do any of y'all speak another language?
I took Spanish, but don't ask me nothing.
Okay, I won't ask you anything. So I lived in Brazil for 2 years, and in about the first 4 months, it took about that long to be able to speak Portuguese. It took about a year in the country, and I can't. So that the first 2 months. It took about that long to make it to the point where I could understand the majority of what people were saying. I couldn't form the words, but I could understand the words. It took another couple of months to leave that and be able to form the words. And so before I would say anything, I would say the phrase in English to myself in my brain, and I would translate it as best I could, and out of my mouth would come what I had translated in my head. Very slow process. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That went on and that went on. And I can't tell you the exact day. I can't tell you suddenly when, but it was somewhere around 8 or 9 months to the first year. I was having conversations with people on the street, at church, in the store, full conversations. I would dream at night, dreams that I could remember. You know, some dreams you just see, some dreams you it's like you're here and you can remember. I would dream in Portuguese. I had become so immersed and fluent in the language when I left 2 years after I was there. When I left Brazil, in the part of Brazil where I lived in São Paulo, most of that area was settled by Germans. So to be fair skinned and to be clear eyed, I've got hazel eyes. You saw my legs, they're just about as white as this chef coat is. I mean, I don't look like the traditional Latino that lives in Brazil, lives in south of the border. Actually, in São Paulo, I blend in just fine because of the number of German and German descent that live there. And I fit right in, and I didn't have an American accent, and I can roll my R's, and I'm very light with my tongue, with the T's and the D's, and I am conversationally fluent in Portuguese. I've lost a lot because I haven't used it. I bring that up as an example of the same thing you're experiencing with knife skills. You're introduced to the skill. It is a lot of work for you to do it. You understand it. You can see what I do in a video, and I'm sure your brain registers, oh, that's great. I can do that. And then you pick up the knife, and it's like kryptonite to Superman. And you go to the onion or whatever, and it's like, you know what did he mean? And now you're at a point where it's not so much like kryptonite to Superman, but you're having to think of the phrase in English, translate the phrase in English in your brain before you say it out loud. I promise you keep this up even after class, after the summer is done. Every time you hold a knife, when you're cooking dinner at home, if you're entertaining someone, anytime you're cutting anything, you practice these methods and techniques. You even tell yourself, okay, for this chicken salad, I need to brunoise my celery. I need to properly dice the onion. I'm going to put garlic. I need to mince fully this clove of garlic. And you continue to apply the right methods and the right techniques. The day will come that it'll just happen. And you won't know when it happened, but you'll be so excited when you recognize yourself as being fluent in knife skills. It'll come. It'll come. I promise.
Love that.
What else you want to know about? Next week or this week? Wait a minute. Is this week chicken?
Yes.
Yeah. It's chicken and potatoes.
So do we need to go pick that up?
The tournée.
Green beans.
Uh-huh. This one is, Jennifer's got a little bit of leg up on you because she's also in food too. And what you're doing right now, what you're going to do this week is your first lab in food two with a little bit of variation. We do a different vegetable and a different starch, but you're going to fabricate chicken. Okay.
So do we have to go pick this up this week?
I already picked up mine.
So it's there for you to pick up, yeah?
Oh, they didn't give it with the cheese.
They didn't give it with the cheese when we got the cheese.
She said some people forgot to get it out.
Oh, they didn't.
When I got the cheese, they didn't have it.
Well,
cheese.
when you check in, there are 2 sheets, one for the first week and one for the second week. And you just kind of go down the sheet and check off as you put it in your bag.
I guess I only did the 1 sheet.
Yeah, they bagged mine for me and did that. So I'll go back and get it. That's fine.
Now,
Okay.
how are y'all getting them to bag yours? Because they have not bagged.
That was the first time I picked up food. And I just
First time they bagged, this last couple of times, they had not bagging. The last couple of times they weren't bagging. They just said, oh, it's right there. I go, oh okay.
Well, the last couple of times was probably because of kids camp.
Yes.
Everything was busy around the culinary school, especially there in the purchasing area. Everything really busy.
Well,
So
maybe because they know me, they've never bagged my stuff.
that might have been it too.
Ice packs. They're like, oh, you need ice packs? We'll give you ice packs. They were really nice.
I get the ice, but they did mention that other people did not pick up their chickens.
I didn't even.
I was one. I didn't know.
I will send Jen. I will send her a message tonight. So when she shows up in the morning, she would have put the chickens back in the freezer.
Yeah, they were in the freezer.
Okay. So they may still be in the freezer. Yeah. But
I'll go tomorrow.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll go tomorrow and get mine, pick it up.
Okay. I'll send her a note tonight. She may not get it until tomorrow morning. So San and Jill, if y'all are going to pick stuff up tomorrow, y'all just be patient with Jen. You might have to take a minute. She'll get the stuff for you or make sure the stuff gets out. I hate that has happened, but sorry about that. I would rather you do that than feel like you have to go to the store and, potatoes wouldn't be such a big deal. Even green beans wouldn't be such a big deal, but a whole chicken, $6-7 is $6-7.
Yeah.
You paid a lab fee, or the government paid a lab fee, or somebody paid a lab fee.
I need to be using all of that money.
That's right. Use it. Use it. Last thing I want to hit, and I know we're already over, okay, unless you have more questions. Next week, not that we're in week 8, you're going to do your chicken. Next week is week 9. On the schedule, okay, you would be picking the product up anyway. Just for continuity's sake, Jennifer knows this already for Food 2. We've already kind of had this conversation and made this deal with Food 2. The first time we're talking about this here. If you look at the syllabus and you look at the course schedule part of the syllabus, we have next week is week 9, and you're doing a little bit with eggs. It's kind of fun. You're going to get some bacon, and maybe there's going to be some breakfast sausage, and you'll get some more vegetables to just cut, and you'll get some eggs to do an omelet, or if you want to do a quiche, or I think the idea is to do some omelets. I want you to see how to flip an egg and try to flip an egg and whatever, but you're just going to do some eggs. You need to upload in the appropriate place, which is in the week 9 folder, your presentation, your oral presentation. You will not be giving a presentation to the whole class. Follow the directions. So read them. You can go into week 9 now. Look at the oral presentation, read the directions. I've included in there, I think, I'll double check and make sure. I've included another version or a copy of how to record yourself in Zoom. We're all in Zoom right now. So each of you have the Zoom app on your phone or on your laptop, on your computer. Using Zoom, free Zoom, follow those directions. There's a way for you to open Zoom. It's just yourself. You share the screen. You open up to your PowerPoint presentation. You hit record, and I know that it will feel very awkward, and it may not feel so awkward for you guys, since we've come out of almost a year and a half of COVID, and you've had Zoom meetings and Zoom family get-togethers and Zoom classes. But I want you to understand this, okay? I've done TV, and I know the camera can be very cold. The camera doesn't respond. The camera doesn't look back. The camera doesn't give you a facial expression like San is giving me right now. That expression of, what in the world are you telling me to do? Okay. The camera doesn't do any of that. There's no response. There's no visual cues, no visual feedback, no nothing. Okay. And it's just this cold presentation. The objective of this exercise is less about the presentation. It's less about the quality of your research and how fluently you're able to give an oral presentation. It's not speech class. It's not.
Okay.
It is, maybe for one or two of you, it is an introductory experience to the notion that when you become the chef, you're going to stand up in front of people all the time. You're going to introduce a menu. You're going to introduce yourself. You're going to sell yourself. On this menu, there is a secret ingredient. Well, you need to talk about that ingredient. You're going to use chocolate. Where does chocolate come from? Why do you like chocolate? Why did you put chocolate in this tomato sauce? I'm an idiot. I don't know why, but there you go. I want you to have this first experience in talking about those things that kind of jazz you of a culinary topic. All three of you have put up a good one. So these things, these presentations don't have to be, you know, an ingredient. What you have proposed in, was it last week's little thing, or week 6? Was it week 6? Last week. It was last week, wasn't it? What you've put up is all great and fine. Go with that. 7 to 9 minutes. Don't go over 9 minutes. So being in Zoom and recording yourself, just like working at home online, if you don't like your dice, you can get another potato and cut your dice. That's a cute little poodle. That's a cute dog. We love dogs. If you don't like your presentation, you can stop it, erase it, start it again, do another recording. Keep doing it till you're happy with it.
Okay.
Don't exceed 9 minutes. And try to hit, let's say 6 to 9 minutes. If you go under 6 minutes, I'm going to ding you a little bit. If you go over 9 minutes,
you're going to ding us a lot?
Maybe.
So, Chef, I was looking at the rubric earlier today, and so it, you know, one of the things we're graded on is how comfortable we are in front of an audience. So I guess really it's how comfortable we are in front of our
that rubric
camera.
I made a few years ago. That rubric is built around an in-person oral presentation.
Okay.
I've not changed the rubric for
Sorry.
You're fine. You're home, be home. I've not changed the rubric for the online class. And so you can consider a few of those things kind of gimme points. You're not going to be in front of an audience. So how comfortable are you in front of an audience? Well, that's a free 10 points. I think each criterion is 10 points. Now uniform, are you in uniform? Yeah, you should be. How fluidly you speak versus reading a script. Don't read to me, tell me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got another question. I just realized this. So if I use my computer for all of my Zoom work, but we also have a presentation as a part of our visual aid. How does that work? I guess, do we print it off? What do we do there? Any recommendations?
Reed, it's going to be in week 9.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes.
It's also in the same week that you wrote the little paragraph on what you're doing. If that was last week or week 6, okay. There's a couple of files in there. They're videos. I just thought they were good YouTube videos, so I didn't shoot one myself. I borrowed those. One of those is how to record yourself in Zoom, and one of those is how to do a PowerPoint presentation in Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so really pay attention to those 2 things, those 2 little videos, and you shouldn't have any problem whatsoever. But I'll tell you real quick, so you can go back to this recording and go to the end at an hour and 33 minutes. Click on hour and 33 minutes, and that's where we'll be, where we talk about this. When you open Zoom, you're going to click on, well, I don't want to tell you exactly what you're going to click on, because it will depend on the version that you have up on your computer. Okay. But when you open a new meeting, there won't be anybody in it but you. You won't have anybody else. So if are each one of you at a computer, or are you on a phone? Jill's on a phone.
I'm on
so it's a little bit more wonky with the phone, but I'm going to ask San and Jennifer if you just move your cursor just a little bit, so that you wake up that bottom. You wake up the menu.
I see the record down there.
You'll see a record. You can't do anything to record, I don't think, because you're not the host. But do you see a button that says share screen?
Yes.
You're going to click on share the screen. And when you share the screen, you need to already have your PowerPoint open.
Okay.
Then open Zoom before you ever record. Open your Zoom, share the screen. And when you share the screen, you're going to see a weird version of all of the files open on your hard drive. In the background,
you just find your PowerPoint and share it.
You double click on that PowerPoint and it takes about 30 seconds or so for the computer to read out where it is. And then boom, you're going to see your PowerPoint, and more than likely you'll see your little image. You'll see your own camera of yourself, probably up on the top or up in the right-hand corner or the left-hand corner, whatever the defaults are set. So you'll be watching you while you're advancing your
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
And whether you make your slides full screen or not, I don't care. I don't care. That's up to you. I had 2 professors, doctors, in a doctoral program. We're in Zoom. They share their screen every week. They never knew that there's that little screen icon in the bottom of PowerPoint. You click on that, and now you just see the slide. You don't see the whole. You don't see, the next slide and the slide after that. You don't see the outline of slides. You just see. They never knew that. They never knew that. So it's okay. I'm easy. Your slides should be readable. I'm not grading artwork or anything like that. I think there's about 40 points of the 160 that refer directly to your visual aid. And for us in this online setting, PowerPoint's your option.
Oh, this 160 points?
It's 160 points. It's plug.
So So during the presentation, once we share our screen, do you go back and forth, or do you just share it once and then?
No, you just hit share once.
Okay.
And then hit record.
Okay.
And you're on the clock.
Okay.
And so you'll hit, you know, when I do it in Food 2, that's exactly what I do. And I hit enter. I just hit enter to advance the screen. If you use the arrow buttons, you know, the arrow to the right advances to the next screen. The arrow to the left goes backwards a slide.
Okay.
San, all of you, like everything else that I grade, by now y'all kind of know me and my grading style. And, you know, if you do the work, these are not difficult points.
Okay.
I guess in a way I make it a little bit intimidating by it's 160 points all in one assignment. You leave out, it's just you and the screen, and you don't have any PowerPoint, you don't have any visual aid, you've lost 40 points. That's 25%. So
you need to
do that yourself.
You need to have yourself and your PowerPoint in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Zoom records it all.
Okay. Okay.
Try not to be too intimidated by it. You'll work through it once or twice, and the first time you do it, you'll probably want to redo it because it may not work exactly the way you want it. But then, you know, by the second time, oh, I get it.
So next week, after we've had a chance to review the documents, can we talk about this again?
Yeah. What documents? What are we talking about?
Well, about the the full information about the presentation.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Because also next week, so Sunday morning at 12:01, which will be the beginning of week 9, your practical exam will also open. I'm not going to wait all the way to week 10 and give you only 2 days to do your practical exam. Okay. So at week 9, I'm going to open up the practical and the written exam. And
is the practical the project, or there's
no.
project, practical, written exam?
So week 9 and week 10 they'll all wake up together. Right now, you just see week 9. You don't see active at all. Week 10, there are 2 files for week 10. One's practical exam, one is written exam. Or if you see them, they're grayed out. You can't open those up yet, right?
They're not on. Yeah.
They're not even on there at all.
Yeah, I saw those listed in our grades, actually. I remember that now.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do for your benefit as well as mine, I'm going to be in Orlando, Florida at week 10. That's why we're not going to have a Zoom session. Next week's our last Zoom session. So I'm going to keep that open instead of till Sunday night, the beginning of week 10. I'm going to keep it open until Tuesday night after that. All of week 9, your week 10 practical exam and written exam are all going to be open until Tuesday. What is that? August 3rd?
I think that's, yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Whatever that Tuesday is. Clear up until midnight.
August 3rd.
Yeah.
So the 26th through the 3rd, Monday
Yes.
the 26th.
Yes. So your eggs for week 9. There's not a quiz, I don't think. There's not key terms. There might have been a quiz.
It's showing a quiz in week 9. There wasn't the other day, but now it looks like there is one. It says week 9 quiz.
Okay, but there's not key terms.
No, those in week 8.
Yeah.
So does our written exam and practical close on Tuesday the 3rd?
Yes, all of it closes
Okay.
3rd.
Woo! All right, anxiety.
Okay, but write it down now.
Yes.
Write it down now. So.
But we can do our project now because the information's available.
Yeah, and where to
Okay.
is open. You
Okay.
can do that now, just like quiz and
Yeah.
If you want to work on week 9 lab now, I mean, really, it's eggs. You've got eggs in your refrigerator. You will want to pick up product from the school for your practical exam. Your practical exam will be 10 cuts. You will submit very specific. I'm telling you exactly what. You're going to submit 10 cuts, 5 photographs, 5 videos.
Okay.
There is
5
a
what?
time videos.
5. What was the word before videos?
Pictures, photographs.
Picture.
5 pictures, 5 videos. There is a time limit on each video.
Okay.
Full credit, in part, depends on completing those cuts within the time limit of those cuts. You'll see.
Will we get 10 minutes apiece?
That you do not get 10 minutes apiece. Now, y'all have been seeing, I think, from the comments I've left that I told you at the very beginning of the semester, each knife skills test gets a little more. I get a little more picky.
Yeah.
More picky and a little more picky. And now we're coming to the practical exam, and y'all have seen about all the picky.
Okay.
Okay. There's going to be, in fact, there may be 1 or 2 other pictures like you in uniform with your cuts and a couple of things like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's another 150 or 160 points. And that is your most tense 150 points. Except, listen, this is recorded. I'm keeping y'all 2 whole class. We need to not have class next week because of all this time that we're taking. Do y'all want to have class next week? Do y'all want to do this next? I've kept you for so long, or y'all have asked good questions and everything.
I mean,
go.
Yes, because I haven't reviewed the document yet for the project, so I would
Okay,
love
all right.
to. I mean, even if it's short.
Okay.
If you have time.
The benefit for your practical exam as an online student, with the exception of your short little videos, your 5 pictures are just pictures of finished product, right? You're not happy. You know the feedback that I give you. You're not happy with your bell pepper. I only give you 1 bell pepper, but save the bell pepper that you're getting from the breakfast cookery for week 9. Now you got 2 bell peppers. Do your practical exam. Maybe do your practical exam before you do your egg cookery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're not and I don't remember off the top of my head, but if you're not happy with your first bell pepper, well, then erase that picture and cut another bell pepper and take a picture of something that's better. If you're not happy with that potato cut, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You can almost bet on, I'm going to have you dice an onion or half an onion, and I'm going to have you dice half an onion on camera, video. Well, dice half the onion. Look at your video. If you're not happy with that, erase it and do it again. That is the benefit of doing this class online.
Instead of being in person, where you got that 1 shot and then there you are.
In class is 1 shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing right over your shoulder.
Oh, Lord.
I'm not standing right over your shoulder. Actually, I leave the room and I go talk.
No, you're not. You're standing over our shoulder.
I can neither confirm nor deny any of those allegations.
Mm-hmm.
We are 45 minutes over. Next week, we'll get on same time, same time, And let's just visit for a minute about your oral presentation.
Okay.
Finish up of the class. Let's try to keep it about 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
If you have other questions and comments and concerns and cares, I'll stay on all night if you want to. Does anybody have anything else? I smell taco meat going.
You need to go eat tacos with your wife.
I'm gonna go have some tacos. Y'all have a very blessed night.
Enjoy the class. Thanks.
Be good.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, y'all.
Bye.